This is a weekly STEP meeting. Our format is as follows. A speaker is asked to talk for 25 to 30 minutes on the STEP of the week, followed by our discussion and questions until 7. You can find these weekly meetings on our YouTube page, the Conscious Contact Speaker Group of Doylestown. Don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe and share below. That brings us to the speaker portion of the meeting on this day of 7? Okay. August 7th, 2023 in Doylestown, PA at the Monday night 6 p.m. Stay Alive Literature and Step Group at St. Paul's Lutheran Church. Tonight's speaker is Aine, and she will be sharing her experience on Step 4. Please help me welcome Aine.
Hey everybody, my name is Aine. I'm an alcoholic.
Hi Aine.
I'm very grateful to be here with you all tonight. So my sobriety date is October 4th, 2021. And, you know, first of all, my sister got me in here, which is a huge part of my story. She got sober first. We were drinking buddies. And she left me out drinking on my own, and eventually I started to see in her something that had shifted. And, you know, coming to read the literature, you know, Bill and Abby rings a bell when it comes to that. You know, I saw things change in her, and I didn't know what AA was going to provide for me. I had no idea. I didn't even know if I wanted to stop drinking because I couldn't associate my symptoms with alcoholism. I couldn't have, because I was totally unequipped with the facts about the disease of alcoholism. So, you know, I started drinking when I was about 12, and I was in an alcoholic family, you know, through the generations. So my perception of relationships, the world, you know, how I saw myself, all those different things were just completely tilted off from the very start. So, you know, my drinking got worse and worse and worse. And, you know, as I kind of burnt down relationships and jobs and all those kind of things, unbeknownst to me, I was carrying around so many chips on my shoulder those chips began building my world. And of course the usual symptoms of like isolation and, you know, couldn't keep a job, couldn't hold a friendship, and my family, you know, we all drank together, so we all enabled each other. So to me, like it talks about, the abnormal becomes the normal. So when I first came in and I started to get an idea of what AA was about, I kind of was like, this kind of seems like what I've been looking for all this time, and I didn't know it. You know, and my sister had brought me to a few meetings before I had even decided to get sober, that I even had a problem. And I went to the meeting, and her buddies had said to me, how long do you have? And I said, I don't, I'm just here to support her, like, I'm not, you know. And they were like, all right, well, we'll be here when you're ready. I was like, whatever, rude. But we can smell it off another person, you know by looking in someone's eyes. And so eventually I showed up ready to just like put the boxing gloves down, and they were like, we're here for you when you're ready. So when I started learning about, you know, basically that I was the problem and that the drinking was the solution for me, I was so intrigued by that, because I was like, I thought the drinking was the problem. You know, I had no idea that I was the problem. I knew that I was like messed up and all that sort of stuff, but I didn't realize that the drinking was just a symptom. And so I got a sponsor, and she was unbelievable. She was this woman who was from the area, moved to California and came back. And I shared at a meeting that I needed a sponsor and that I had started reading the big book. And I can say that, you know, my interest in the big book sparked pretty quickly too, because I was like, this is unbelievable. I've never seen anything like this, where it's like not made up, and these people came together and got sober so long ago. So I met with her, you know, my sponsor, and we talked for like 7 hours the first time we met. And that's when my love for the big book started, because she was very big book, very to the book, started the steps, you know. And I had kind of admitted powerlessness before I even came in, because I was just like, I know I can't do this anymore. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I know I can't do this anymore. Got through steps 1 and 2 okay, and then came 3. Couldn't understand that at all. you know, but was like, I'm ready, I want to do the 4th step, I hear everybody talking about it, you know, like this experience. And you know, I also was terrified too, because you hear a lot of people saying like the 4th step took me out, kind of a thing. And in our literature, when it says like, this is mostly as far as any of us has got to admit that the world and its people have wronged us. And that was as far as I'd ever gotten in my life. You know, I had gone to therapists pretty much my whole life and could see the problem, but was left with the problem without a real solution, you know, thinking that self-will was going to get me through these things, and that blame was a constant theme in my life. You know, blaming the people around me, blaming the situations, all that sort of stuff, because when you don't know, you don't know, and I could not see my life for what it was. So my sponsor made me sit in step 3 for a while, and as I was in step 3, I kept having these experiences with family members where it was just like disastrous, you know, and I would go to her and I would call her and I'd be like, I can't deal with this, you know, these people are the worst. And she was like, well, this is step 4 work. Do you feel it yet? Do you feel how that deep old anger is still controlling your life? You know, we have to be willing to give our will and our lives over, meaning my thoughts and my actions. And I was like, okay, I'm trying. Eventually she told me I was ready for step 4, but there was a huge lead up to that where she was like, this is not a place of judgment. We don't go in here to judge ourselves, and we most certainly don't go in to judge other people. And I was still so foggy headed in those days of sobriety that I could not understand the 4th step at all. Like I don't know why I couldn't understand. It was either that I couldn't understand, or that I understood very well that it was going to come to my part, and I wasn't willing to get to that yet. You know, I don't think I was ready for that. But the way my sponsor did it with me was that we went through the first 3 columns, and after all that was done, we went back together and did the 4th column together. And it was an experience that I'll never forget. And it was the first time, it was like the biggest pivotal point in my sobriety, because I was able to see my patterns, who I have been as a friend, who I have been as a family member, you know, and I couldn't see that clearly before. I just couldn't. How could I? I mean, I was totally insane and delusional, and I knew I didn't want to be anymore. And I knew I wanted to learn how to have relationships, and I couldn't, because these wedges were in the way and I didn't know. So I did my first 4th step as thoroughly as I possibly could, and you know, it was good for a while. You know, it was great. You know, went through the steps for the first time, and that sponsor of mine sadly passed away throughout the time that she was sponsoring me. And at that stage I was like, I don't know, you know, I need another sponsor, but I'm a mess. And I found this angel of a woman to be my new sponsor. So she had said to me, all right, well, you've already done the steps once, but we're going to do them again at length. So this time around, doing my 4th step, it was another spiritual experience, learning who I am, you know, who I am, how I act, you know, how that resentment from when I was a child shows up today in my relationships today. And it's the type of real self-care. You know, you hear people saying, oh, I'm doing self-care, and like I thought I knew what self-care was, but I didn't. And being able to go through that and talk about these people, these places, these things, what the resentment is and why it's there, and sit with another person one-on-one who's experienced some of the same things, or maybe not the same at all, but has felt the exact same feelings from a different experience, is just a whole, you know, it's just another world of emotions and experiences. And, you know, without self-pity and getting that validation. And there's a fine line, you know, because self-pity was where I lived as well. Self-pity, anger, fear, and as time goes on, and you know, I go to meetings and I hear people speak and I hear their experience, strength and hope, and feel that humility is the goal. Like how can I become humbled if I'm not willing to look at how I have treated other people? how can I feel like I'm on the same playing field as everybody else if I'm willing to continue to treat people in the way I always have, because I'm not willing to look at those things, you know, and being able to go in there and say, invite God in and invite my higher power in and say, like, I trust the process. You know, I'm not going to drink over these things. I want to be able to move on in my life and create meaningful relationships and be a humble person. You know, I crave that humility, I crave that holiness. And I never did before. I knew it existed and I saw people that had it, but it always felt untouchable because I felt, you know, just like broken and damaged and all those things that we feel when we're just, you know, I felt so maladjusted too, like it talks about in our book. And coming to realize, like, my world after I had done my 4 steps each time just like went like this, because my perception was completely changed, you know, completely changed from those old ways, those old ideas. And like, obviously I still have them. I mean, that's why we do 5, 6, 7, you know, onwards, and, you know, come to humbly ask God to remove those things. But being able to see that, it's indescribable. And then, you know, after the fact, being able to take somebody else through a 4th step and, you know, try and treat that person as I was treated by the woman before me, going through that, you know, difficult stage of doing a 4th step, but being able to do it with love and no judgment, no self-pity, but validation. I mean, it's a tall order to do it, and it's a tall order to take somebody through it. But if I remember that God or my higher power is with me in it, it's nothing. You know, it's nothing to drink over like I used to drink over. Couldn't face reality. But reality now is that my thoughts were insane, pretty much, living in that insanity. And now I can look at that honestly and thoroughly with another person and let that go and move on as best I can. You know, consistently praying for the willingness to see the truth about my situation, to see the truth about those resentments, to see where they come out today. And, you know, it's just a humbling experience, and I'm so grateful for that. And, you know, I just love step meetings too, because where would we be without them? I mean, hearing other people's experience, strength and hope and how they do it, like, it just amazes me all the time, this fellowship and the literature. And I just feel so blessed to have this, and I'm just very grateful. So thanks for letting me share.
Okay, please limit your sharing to 3 minutes. Please keep your shares related to the step. If you feel like drinking, or if you have a drink today, or if you've had a drink today, please see me or speak to someone after the meeting. We ask that you please refrain the use of profanity. We're in a church and on a spiritual journey. I'll start off here. You know,